Welcome back, everyone, to yet another episode at Waadaplaya channel. I'm Suman, and we have a new concussion sub today, Santosh. Okay, so today's guest, Aditya, he's an avid sports fan, and his tweets and posts are well respected on social media. Welcome to our show, Aditya.
Thanks, Suman and Santosh. Thanks for having me on your show. So happy to be here. So I'll give a small intro of myself or like how I started my cricketing fan journey in that sense. So back in 2010, like I've been following cricket since when I'm in like school, like right from the age of like I should say 10 or so. That's like from a long time. And then especially on social media, it helps you follow and it helps you come together with other cricket fans, right? So I remember when I first created my Twitter account in 2010. So before that, there were a bunch of cricket blogs. Cricket blogging was very, very common those days. So all of us cricket fans used to interact on like the blog comments, like someone writes a blog, then people comment on it and like good discussions happen out of it. So post that, then we all moved to Twitter. So from that time onwards, I've been like pretty active on Twitter. So I've been born and brought up in Hyderabad, and then for a few years I was staying in Mumbai, and Mumbai is like pretty close to my heart because from a cricketing standpoint, like you have the Wankhede Stadium and the Brabon Stadium, and I used to work in Nariman Point in Mumbai, so it's like very close to those stadiums, and I have some great memories of watching some important matches for India and also in the IPL and domestic first class matches as well there. And then a few years ago, I moved to the US. So currently, I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's a bit more challenging to follow cricket now. Like I try to make it a point to watch all India matches, but the other matches, given the time zone difference, it gets challenging. But having said that, that actually helps you create like a better bond with your people on social media, because you're following the matches with them and it's a lot easier. Like in India, you could go to a restaurant or you could go to the stadium and like you could meet up a bunch of cricket enthusiast friends. We have that here in the US as well, especially in the San Francisco Bay Area, but it's not as easy. So the online, I've begun to like the online fans or the fans who have met on social media, and I continue to watch the games. So yeah, looking forward to having a chat with you both and dive deeper.
Very good. And you mentioned that you moved to America recently, and is it studies or work?
Right. I did my MBA. I did my MBA and I work in the technologies sector. So I work in like go-to-market strategy for products. So in terms of technology products, how do you price them? What sort of strategy you take to get them to market, or like how do you position and pitch those products? So that's my day job in the technology ecosystem. That's why I'm in like the San Francisco Bay Area where all the high-tech firms are. And yeah, that moved me to the US, and it's been good so far. And cricket, to that point, like it gets a bit challenging, especially when games are played in the UK. The matches start here at like around 2 to 3 anytime, 2 to 3 a.m. So the cricket World Cup, we had like put alarms and put an alarm, wake up at like 2:30, and then like stay awake for the whole match. Like you sleep at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and like get 4 or 5 hours of sleep and then wake up. Uh, the Australian series was the recent India Australia series, which was like I would say like it was the best series I've ever seen, from best Test match series I've ever seen, and I'm pretty sure every cricket fan and especially Indian cricket fans will never forget this. And the good thing about that series was, especially the Test series, the matches used to start at like I think around 3:30 or 4:30, depending like Brisbane or Adelaide, and that's like the ideal time, right? Like you're kind of rolling off work by 5 6, and then you can sit down and watch the match, and the test match kind of ends at like 10:30 or 11:30 or 12, depending on that. So it's like the perfect time, right? So that's been good following here, because in India you'd have to wake up at like 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. to watch those matches. So they're both sides, right? Like this time zone is good here, but yeah, you have to evaluate that.
Agreed. And talk us through your background. Is at MCG, and I know you watch cricket matches live, so give us some stories about the background and the matches you've seen live.
Right. So yes, so this is the MCG. I went there during the 2015 Cricket World Cup final, Australia and New Zealand. I was really hoping India makes it, but you all know what happened. So it's a great stadium. Loved my time there, and I also try to watch like as many matches in the cricket stadium. Actually, interesting story though. I was planning to go to Australia for the T20 World Cup, which was supposed to be held in like October, November. I had bought tickets for all India matches and like the semifinals and finals. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's take like 2 weeks, 3 weeks off, go and watch that. And I was also actually contemplating going to the test series, right? Like this was pre-COVID, obviously. This was my plans in like 2019. I bought match tickets for the 2020 World Cup because they were released 1 year in advance. So I bought them in 2019. And I was also thinking to go for one test in the India Australia test series, like probably Melbourne or Sydney. But yeah, like I have nice memories there. And in India, like I've been fortunate to watch like the 2011 Cricket World Cup final at Wankhede live. So that was an experience I could never forget. And I think that's probably like more of a high point for an Indian cricket fan, right? Waiting for 28 years to win that World Cup, especially at home, becoming the first team to win a World Cup at home. That was like insane. Then also I was able to fortunate to watch Sachin Tendulkar's 200 match in Mumbai. That was I think 2013. So that, and as I said earlier, like it's a lot easy to watch IPL matches in India. So I've been to a bunch of stadiums like Pune, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Delhi, been to Dharmshala. So it's a lot easier. Been to Kolkata, Eden Gardens. So all these stadiums, I've been there, watched the match, and the experience of watching the match from the stadium, especially with like crowds of like 30,000 to 70, 80,000 is unmatchable, right? So I'd always make it a point whenever I get the chance and the time, go and watch the match in the stadium. So looking forward to once international travel is not as restricted, once after COVID um, goes away with all the vaccinations happening, looking forward to actually traveling to like, let's say England and Australia and New Zealand and also South Africa over the next few years to go and watch matches live.
Excellent. So let's switch gears. We can jump into the next topic of England tour of India, which is coming up in a week's time.
Mhm.
Be interested to one get your thoughts on what the series predictions are, X factors, etc. So Santosh, take it away.
Hey Aditya, thanks for the intro. Okay, so before we go ahead with the players discussion, but let's just walk through how this entire series is spread out. So this series is spread out for a good 2 months. So we will be watching TV for the next 2 months, busy watching Star Sports. So we have like 4 test matches to play, 5 ODIs, and 3 T20s, right? And one thing that we need to notice that all these matches are being played at the same stadium. When I say that, out of those 4 test matches, 2 at the same stadium, and the next 2 will be at the same stadium. So a quick question to you: how this series would know? Will this be a very even series? Like, since because we are not going to play all the matches at a different stadium, it would be. Will it be an even for India as well as England?
Right, let's split like the series, right? Like let's talk about the test series first because I think India are firm favorites for the test series. Like there are a couple of reasons, right? One, we've never lost at home. Like India has never lost at home at a series for the past like 9 years now. So that record actually, unfortunately, in the larger cricketing world or like let's say in the media, that isn't talked about more, right? Like, oh, everyone says that, oh, it's so tough to Australia or England, but they lose series all the time. Not all the time in a sense, like they don't lose series every year, but they don't have records which go for like 10 years, 9 years by not losing a series at all, right? That record is only India, right? Before the 2012 series loss, I think the last series India lost in India was the series was 2004, right? That's another good 8 years. Now it's a good 9 years. We're still ongoing, right? So this record is what like Indian cricket fans are proud of, and I think Indian cricket fans should give our Indian team more credit, right? Like it's tougher to tour in England, South Africa, other places. Now Australia, we won back-to-back series. That's great, right? But in general, like it's really tough to defeat India in India. You need like a lot of things going right for you, and a lot of things going wrong for India, right? To for that series win to happen for like an opposition. So personally, I don't see it being too close. I see India like winning comfortably. Having said that, there are like a certain, given like how we are playing with like the biosecure bubbles, COVID restrictions and all, there is some level of uncertainty is what I should say. Two things, right? Like as you rightly pointed out, it's just in two venues. Typically you have four venues, maybe one is Delhi, one is Mumbai, right? So you have four venues spread out, and India has great records in, like, let's say Firozshah I think we haven't lost a match there in the last 30 years. 25, 30 years, right? Like it's like equivalent to Australia's GABA, but unfortunately the Kotla record isn't talked about as much as like the Australians GABA record, right? So that's a time for another, that discussion is for another time. But here, I think a couple of things. In Chennai, I was reading up recently and they've kind of relayed the pitches, and there's like a new curator, right? So he said that the pitches might be like a lot more, not your typical Chennai pitch, the Chepauk pitch, which turns a lot. So again, that is like 5 days before the match. You don't know what happens. They shave off the grass or like don't water it and it's baked under sun. Then it could still turn. But what I'm trying to say is there's that other element aspect of it from a pitch standpoint. It might not be a rank turner, which I think personally is like a good thing for India. And that's one. And the second thing is Ahmedabad, right? Like it's a massive stadium, looks beautiful uh, from what I've seen in like videos and photos. But the other challenge is it's the first time it's hosting an international match. The only, I think the first class matches which have been held are like the knockout phases of the Syed Mushtaq Ali T20 tournament, domestic tournament in India. That's it. I haven't seen like a 5 day match being played there. So once again, that's like a new pitch. It's like a variable. And then I think one of the Ahmedabad test matches is a day night test as well, right? So a day night test will obviously be more helpful to England because the pink ball swings more and they have like good fast bowlers compared to like their spinners, as you see in like the squads. So there are some these things, and for India, I think Jadeja is like injured at least for the first two tests. I think that's a massive blow because, personally speaking, this again doesn't get talked about as much. But during like the India Australia series, there was like a stat which was put out there in like the last 2 or 3 years. Who's the best all-rounder? Like you remove your batting average minus your bowling average. Jadeja was, I think, probably close to 20, and Ben Stokes was like 16, right? And this is over like a chunk of test matches, like 15, 20 test matches. Jadeja is that good. Like he doesn't get enough credit, but he's that good in the test match, in test matches, and especially in India. Like he comes in, he bats at like 8 or 9, sometimes at 7, and he still scores like those 50s or quick fires 80s, and then runs through the opposition, right? Like he doesn't give runs at all. His economy is closer to 1 or 2, and then that puts pressure on teams and they get out. So he's like a vital linchpin of our spin bowling attack. So he'll be sorely missed. So having said that, if we had Jadeja, I would be a lot more bullish on India, like winning 4-0. Like I know it's like a bold prediction, but like I don't see England like beating that. But we don't have Jadeja. And given like these are like new conditions and new biosecure bubbles, I think there is a good chance that England might sneak one win in there. So because let's say in one match, like Ben Stokes plays like an amazing innings, or like Joe Root, who's been fantastic form against Sri Lanka, like he's hitting hundreds every match and like doesn't look like getting out. I think he got run out. he never got out and did not get troubled by any of the Sri Lankan bowlers. Or like there's someone like a Butler or like a John Bairstow who comes in potentially in the third and fourth test matches. So any of them are like match winners on their own, right? And then you have Broad, Anderson. So and and the other thing is previously, like 10 years ago, our Indian teams were very, very good against spinners, right? Like they would take Shane Warne to the cleaners. Any spinner coming in would like dread to bowl. But I think this current Indian team, they're really good. But I do think they are not as good against spin as, like, let's say the previous generation, like your Sachin, Dravid, Lakshman, Sehwags, right? They're not as good against spinners. And we've seen that as well. I think Moeen Ali like ran through our team twice, like once in 2014-15 and once in 2018 as well. And we lost those test matches. So again, those are on pitches in England where they don't have as much help for the spinners. So you never know, right? Like if you prepare like a rank turner, it might be disadvantageous to India because the England spinners who are not as who are not as tenured or not as respected or not as experienced as the Indian spinners, they might become better, if that makes sense, because of the pitch. I think this happened in Pune as well with Australia. We prepared like a rank turner, and Australia, Steve O'Keefe kind of ran through our batting lineup because the pitch was doing so much. And our spinners, like, they're bowling well, but the ball was turning too much for like for it to miss edges and all these things. So I hope they prepare like fair pitches, in a sense, like they're not too not too spinner friendly or not too seamer friendly. If they're like more pitches which are made for like relatively flat and then deteriorate over like the end of day 3, 4, 5, I think that's the best chance for India, given like the bowling attack we have and the batting we have. So I think it depends a bit on the pitch, but I would say I'd say like I'm 75% thinking 3-1, given like all these other external factors. But I'm hoping like internally I'm wrong and like we win the series 4-0. So that's my take on this for the test match. Like,
Thanks, Aditya. That was like very well explained about this match scenario. So going further, we have like to dig deeper about the squad. We divided every players according to their responsibilities. So let us do a quick comparison between India and England squad. So what we have done is we have splitted the openers for India as well as for England. In the Indian side, we have Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Mayank Agarwal. And in the England side, we have Zach Crawley and Joe Burns. Do you think we have a balanced side when we compare to England?
like openers, we are like far and ahead, right? Like, because correct me if I'm wrong, but like both of them have not played in India a test match before, like the England openers, right? It's tough. Like, having said that, like Alistair Cook came in his first test match and scored 100, right? So in India, he made his debut back in 2005-6. That's what I recall. So things can happen. But having said that, I think Rohit Sharma averages as an over in India something insane, like close to 80 or 90, like 85. His record is like immaculate. And Shubman Gill in Ranji Trophy matches, like because he hasn't played a test in India yet, averages like 70 plus or something close to 70, right? So I don't see like openers. I think like if you want to put like numbers on it, like I would say India is close to 9 and England is probably close to 4, right? Like on a scale of 10, right? We are that far ahead. And yeah, like England, before going into the squad, I'll say one thing though. Like, I was very surprised by England's rotation policy, where they Josh Butler will play one test match and then go home and then come back for the T20 and ODI leg of the series, right? And then Johnny Bairstow played the test matches in Sri Lanka. He's not there for the first 2 test matches, but he'll come in the third and fourth test matches. Like, I'll say some strong words, or like I'm kind of it feels a bit disrespectful. This is a marquee series amongst like India is like amongst the top teams in the world, and England is also, this is like a top 4, like it's like a very important series. And I know this is like biosecure bubble and all these issues are going on, but having said that, it's not like Bairstow is going there and meeting his family on day 1. He has to go there, quarantine, and again he can't practice. Then he takes a flight, come back here, he needs to quarantine again in India for like a few days. I think it's 6 days in India from someone coming from the UK, and then he has to go and play again. Same with Butler. He'll play one test match. He'll go to UK. He'll then come back for the ODI leg. And it feels kind of weird. Like, it's easier for player, at least again, players are going through it. I don't know what discussions the England players have had with the management. Maybe they requested it. That's fine. Like, it's to the player's judgment. But it's very surprising to me that they're doing this rotation policy sort of thing, especially for a marquee series. If they feel that, hey, we can defeat India, or like we can put up a fight, they should put up their best 11 for all the matches, right? Like, okay, first 2 matches you've seen, okay, after 2 matches you're down 2-0 and you're not even competing at all, even with your best 11. Maybe it makes sense to give rest to your best players and, like, keep them fresh for like a long year ahead, right? So that is like the other thing, right? We are not getting the best 11 England team, which is very surprising given the challenge facing them.
It is a different strategy compared to the other teams that have to, right? For example, Pakistan, when they took 40-member squad to New Zealand, including me, was surprising. Why the heck are they taking such a big squad? But then when we saw India and Australia series, we realized that when in the biosecure environment, injuries happen, people can't play the game. So all this comes into play. So England is definitely taking a very different approach. Time will tell whether it will work out or no. And I do agree with you that uh, it does show to the Indian audience that do they are they taking this series seriously, especially leading up to June World Test Championship, top two positions at stake and things like that. Fascinating insights, I think.
Yeah, so because like the World Test Championship spot is on the line, right? Like if England win this series, they actually make it to the finals. So yeah.
Yeah. So 3-1 test matches, 5 T20s, all in Ahmedabad. What's your prediction there?
So I think that, give me a sec.
Yeah, sure.
So the England team has like, as I said earlier, they have a lot of match winners, and especially in the T20 format, like think through their team, right? Like you have Jofra Archer, you have Ben Stokes, you have Johnny Bairstow, you have Joss Butler. All of these people, like I think Sam Curran will come back, right? All of these are like game changers who can on their own like win a whole match. And England is like a lot more, especially when playing in India, they are like a much well-rounded T20 outfit. And then you also have to take into consideration that the Indian conditions, especially in the T20 format, are not alien to any of the England players. And I forgot Owen Morgan, right? Like, so see, there's like a list. Like, if you take like 11 players, probably 8 or 9 are match winners on their own in the England team, and all of them play in the IPL. So they know like the Indian conditions from a T20 format or like an aspect standpoint. So I think that series will be really close, and I wouldn't be surprised if I think it's going to be 3-2 some team, because these teams are like I'm not even saying like I can't even say with confidence that hey, India will win it or England will win it. It'll be super close, and that's my take for this. I think it will be super close, and some team will just like eke it out 3-2. Like I'll be shocked if some team wins 5-0 all one-sided matches. Maybe all five are close matches, and some teams like super unlucky with like decisions, run-outs, or like catches, overthrows. Like in these T20 matches. But I think it will be a really close fought series, and I think it will be 3-2 some either of the teams. It's that close.
Okay. And then one day international, of course, England is the current world champion.
Champion. Yeah. So I'll say this, like in this year, I think out of the three formats, if you want to stack rank them, one day internationals, no one cares that much about, right? Because you have the World T20 final in India. Sorry, you have the World T20, that's the T20 World Cup in India, I think later this year. You have the IPL. Everyone's preparing for that, right? Like to showcase that. And then the other part is preparing for the IPL and also the World T20. And test matches, there's World Test Championship. Of course, test matches carry more prestige when players look at it, right? So those two are like top priority. But the third, like ODIs, like, oh, when is the next World Cup? Oh, it's in 2023. Oh, that's like 2 years ahead, right? And then what is the significance of this one? Because India is already qualified because they are a host for the 2023 World Cup. And there is like a whole elaborate qualification process for the ODI World Cup this time. I think only 7 spots are like assured and the rest everyone should play. But think of this way, right? There are 4 test matches. There are 5 T20s. That's like biosecure bubble for close to 1.5 to 2 months. I don't know how many players will be like, again, I don't want to, I hope like no one gets injured, but I think some people will get injured. Having seen from like other player, tournaments, or like India had like a horrid time with injuries in Australia. Australia, even themselves, like their credit to them that their bowlers never got injured. But like look at Warner, or like in between one of the openers. So it's easier to get injured at this point in time because again, players are like going in and out. There's stresses of the bubble. So I think I think some significant players will either be rested for the ODI leg from both sides, and also like fatigue, right? Like they've played the ODI series gone, the T20 series gone, then you have three ODIs in like Pune. So it might not be as like fans and like uh, teams are not as charged up for that ODI series. You might see like teams like testing out like other players, like, oh, you're a fringe player, go and play. So that is something I see coming in. And the Pune wicket is like a bit generally for like ODIs and all, it's typically flat and it's very easy to chase in Pune. At least that's what I've seen, like especially in ODIs and like other T20s. So I don't know, like that depends on how, like, I think having seen like what has happened in Australia, like let's do a comparison, right? When we went to Australia, first was the ODI series, right? Think of making a prediction for the fourth test in Brisbane, when the first ODI, first T20 was happening. Like the team composition of India like changed so much, right? So I think that's too far out, but I do think that ODI series will also be pretty close. Like to that point, like the ODI team of England has like a lot more match winners compared to the Test match in Indian conditions. So I do think it'll be close, but I think toss would play like a bigger role in that because it's in Pune. I think it's a bit easier to chase in ODIs unless you give like 360 or 370, right? Like what India did in Australia, right? But if you keep it under control, 320, 330, these days teams are expected to chase that down. So I think it'll be close, but probably 2-1. Any of the teams, like England, as you said, is like the reigning world champions, like they won in 2019. So again, that will be close, and I wouldn't be surprised if like England was able to win both the T20s and the ODIs. But I do think Indian team will put up a good fight. So it's like really close. Like that's what I'm hoping. Like 2-1, any of the teams. I'd say too close to call. Uh, if you ask me this question after the T20 series, I think I can give a much better prediction because by then we will know like how many players are like playing. We know the squad because the squads you put up, which is great, like you demarcated like openers, middle order, bowlers. Think of it this, right? These squads are only for the first two tests. Both teams have only qualified the spots for the first two tests. We don't even know what the squad will be for the third and fourth test, right? So things could materially change. Again, if India, let's say, wins the ODI series, wins the Test series easily and the T20 series easily, let's say. Then the Indian selectors are like, hey, why do we, let's give like Kohli, Rohit Sharma, your Shubman Gill, your Bumrah, like literally half of the team, like rest for the ODI series, right? And then you have like new young players coming in and playing like the ODI series. And that's like a different ball game. But England, you have these ODI specialists who will come in, like Morgan will come in, like other people will come in along with them. They might be more competitive and like they can easily win, right? Like there's so many dynamics, but assuming like full strength teams from both sides, I think it will be really close.
Okay. Excellent insights. And that's a great summary of the England tour of India. Hopefully we get to we get to have all the games without any weather interruptions. I would think it will be fine with India series. So that's great. So before we move on to testing you on quiz, real quick, let's spend some time on IPL auctions coming up. So give us the top three players who you think will be the highest paid out of the auction. Give us the top three players who will go unsold, and give us the top three teams who will make a X factor purchase according to you.
X factor purchase. So I'll take like the last question first, like the X factor purchase. There are a couple of things, right? Think of it this way. If you have like a Mumbai Indians or I think a Sunrisers Hyderabad, they don't have that much budget and like their teams are already like kind of, the squad is like already good enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I do think like I'm just trying to pull up like the purse, IPL purse. I do remember like from the top of my head, hmm, because I know like Kings 11 Punjab has like a lot of money left.
That's
And so if anything gets into a bidding war, like you can't compete with them, right? They have like so many crores remaining.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would see. Let me pull that up. Okay. Yeah, let me share this. So, okay. So yeah, like Kings 11 Punjab, as I'm seeing, they have what, 53 crores left. So if any X Factor player comes in and they decide, hey, I want this X Factor player, no other team can compete with them, because the next team, I think, is RCB, which have 35 crores. They also kind of revamped like their whole team. And in these mini auctions, I think it's really important to look at like how much purse like each team is remaining. Like what I've said earlier, like Mumbai, KKR, SRH, and like DC. These
Yeah.
four teams have less than 15, like around 15 crores, 10 crores left. So they probably are just looking to buy like 2 or 3 players. Not like, oh, I'm not looking to buy like 10 players or like bring like a superstar in 10 crores, right? So that is the challenge. I do think Glenn Maxwell and Steve Smith, hmm, they will be like sought after by teams. Like Steve Smith like had a not so good IPL like this year. Like he was the captain of the Royals, and they were, I think, paying him 12.5 crores, which obviously is not required like for an international player like Steve Smith in T20, and they made that call as well, right? So I do think some teams who are looking for a captain, that is Kings 11 Punjab. That's one, right? They're looking for a captain. They might make a purchase with like Steve Smith, or not looking for a captain. There's KL Rahul. Correct. I stand corrected, but they're looking for like stabilized like international players, right? So they'll be, KXIP and RCB are the two teams who are going to spend more here, and then we'll have to look at their squads to see like what are the rough edges there. And I think, yeah, like I also see Mumbai Indians, interestingly, they have they've kept Trent Bolt, but they've released most of their international fast bowlers. Like they've released Nathan Coulter-Nile, James Pattinson, Mitchell McClenaghan. So I think they will make like at least 2 purchases of international fast bowlers, like foreign fast bowlers. So we have to look at them. So each squad has like very little, rough edges are there. Like for example, Sunrisers have only 3 slots available. Like they can't even buy, like even if they want to buy, they have 10 crores, they have 3 spots. So they'll be just like scrambling around. So that's how I see this auction. And yeah, like I think Chris Morris is also in the auction, and so is Kedar Jadhav. I think Kedar Jadhav had a bad IPL. Like there's no two ways about it. He and CSK persisted with him, but I think he did okay in the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy. And Indian batsmen are like a very valuable commodity in any IPL auction, because they're rare, right? Like all of the teams have kind of locked their Indian batsmen in. Like look at Sunrisers Hyderabad. I think Manish Pandey. He's played like 11 crores, which is insane, right? But if you put him in the auction and if you try to buy him back, probably he'll go for 9 to 12 crores again, because every team never lets go. Like whatever happens, very rarely a team lets go of their Indian batsman. So like if you look at like Mumbai, they have Rohit Sharma, they have Surya Kumar Yadav, the Indian batsman. They'll not let them go, right? Like they are like, okay, sit, we'll pay you. Look at Delhi, they have your Shreyas Iyers, you have your Prithvi Shaw. He had a bad IPL, but they never let him go. They're like, no, sit, we'll pay you. Because they know if they go out in the free market, in the auction, given the scarcity of Indian batsmen and Indian fast bowlers, they are the only two who get paid a lot. Like there is this story, or like I saw a tweet where Jaydev Unadkat, in the last 3 years, like he's a great domestic bowler, but I think he's not like your top IPL fast bowlers like in the IPL, but he gets picked for like 10 crores, 12 crores, 9 crores, because there are no other options. And the tweet said like Bumrah got paid on paper like 21 crores and for the last 3 years, and Unadkat got paid 30 crores. Right? By every year, Unadkat is going into the auction. Rajasthan wants him, but they're trying to test the price. Other teams bump up the price, and they are like, okay, fine, we'll buy him for like 11 crores or 12 crores, right? So I think that dynamic is there. So I do think Kedar Jadhav will go for like a decent price. And Tom Banton and Jason Roy, they've been pretty good in the. I think Jason Roy, especially in the BBL, he's been playing really well, and he has a point to prove. So I do think some team or the other might pick him as well. And then there is Chris Morris as well. RCB surprisingly like released him because RCB is like now they have like 13 slots left in their like team, right? So I think RCB and KXIP will make like a lot of these big purchases because of the money they have, and even RR because they've left through like Steve Smith, they've got like a bunch of purse. But having said that, RR generally is like very cost effective, right? So they are not a team who would be like, oh, I have 34 crores, I have to spend 34 crores. They'll be like, oh, I got my people in like 20 crores, I'm fine. Like 14 crores is like profit, right? I don't have to spend that money on that. So I do think KXIP and RCB, I see them making like the big purchases. And Mumbai will buy like a couple of international fast bowlers. I think Chris Morris, there's a good chance he might go to Mumbai. Because imagine a bowling attack with Chris Morris, Bumrah, and Bolt, and Chris Morris can bat really well as well. That gives depth to the Mumbai team. It makes them even stronger, which is like the ironic part of it. But yeah, that's how I see this auction, because this is a mini auction. The dynamics are a bit different.
Any unsold players prediction? Anybody?
Unsold, I think it's tough to predict because I think people underestimate the luck element in the IPL auction. I'll say what I mean. They group the players into like a bunch, right? Hmm. Like all the batsmen, 10 overseas batsmen are put into like a bag and they pick out at random. Hmm. If you are the first person who's picked, there's a good chance you'll get bids from other teams because there's a fear of, oh, I need to bid. Like, let's say RCB or, KXIB, I've got the money, he's a decent batsman, let me bid. Then what happens is, once you are like, let's say you're not like your super high quality international or like very sought after, and you're in the bottom three in that out of those 10, by then all the teams have bought like someone from those seven. And then you're kind of left out. So I do think it's like a bit of luck. And sometimes like for some players that has happened. And the also other interesting dynamic is there's like this FOMO between teams, right? They are not thinking, or I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, at least from what I see on TV or like from the live streams of the IPL auctions. It's like if one team bids on a player, the other team is like interested and they also bid, right? It's not like, and there are, like from a cricket fan standpoint, there are two players who are like equal competence or equal like cricketing pedigree. And you're like, oh, why is this player getting bids from 3, 4 teams and going to 8 crores, 5 crores, 10 crores? Why is this other player, no one's bothering to like pick him, right? So I think there's this luck element to it because if someone comes in like first or second in that, like within that lot, and one team bids, other teams are like, oh no, they are getting that player, let's also bid. Then it's a clear case of like free market deciding, right? Like if 3 teams are bidding on a player, definitely that player will go above 5 crores and sometimes 10 crores. And if 4 teams are bidding, definitely will go beyond 10 crores. Like we saw that with Pat Cummins last time. I think it went to insane, some 15 crores or something. Why? Like three teams were fighting, I think, for him. And even if 2 teams are like fighting, the price goes up artificially. So I think there's a lot of luck aspect which people like kind of discount. They're like, oh, this player did not go unsold. Oh, like if you peel back, like having seen auctions from like probably what, like now a decade, I do see that one is like the luck aspect and others the FOMO aspect, right? I'll say one thing though. Generally, IPL franchisees don't pick Bangladeshi players. Hmm? I do think they're making a mistake in that sense. Like I would rather pick like a Mushfiqur Rahim or a Muhammadullah, who are very good Bangladeshi players who know how to play in Indian conditions, than like a like an Alex Carey. I'm just saying. Or I think this is to do because most of the coaches are
Australian.
Australian or English, right? Like they come in and they have this propensity to pick Australian or English international players more. But I hope like moving forward, like more teams pick more Bangladeshi, Afghanistani players. Some of the Afghanistani players who are coming in are really good, like especially the batsmen. There are a couple of them, right? Again, it depends on when they come in the auction, but I hope like they get their chance because we've seen how well Rashid Khan has done, and Mujib. I think Mujib was also released by KXIP, but he does a really good job, right? So, and Nabi, like unfortunately he's in SRH. I'm happy like as a Sunrisers fan that he is with us, but given the dynamics of the foreign players, he doesn't get to play a lot of matches for SRH, right? Like you have Warner, you have Bairstow, you have Kane Williamson, you have Rashid, right? Or you play like Holder or Mitchell Marsh, and you don't have place for like Mohammad Nabi. But I think he is like a really good T20 player. I hope he gets more chances this year. And I hope more teams like think out of the box and buy like Afghanistani, Bangladesh, or maybe someone from Ireland who's like Paul Sterling, right? Like I like him. He's like an attacking opener. He balls as well. Yeah, like I hope like one thing moving forward, like with these auctions, I hope teams give priority to the stars from like your sides ranked like 9 to 12, or the emerging teams like again Bangladesh is consistently in the top 8, and like they can defeat any team anywhere these days. So I hope teams look at that and like pick more players from that. That's my like wish list for the IPL auctions, or like moving forward, something to pick like more diverse people, and especially from Asia, within Asia, rather than just buying like another England or Australian domestic star who might not perform in Indian conditions. So that's my take on that.
Oh, excellent insights. Appreciate that very much. So switching on, let's get to the fun segment,
Mm-hmm.
the quiz. So Santosh, who's our concussion sub,
Yep.
brought in a few questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Santosh, take it away.
Yep.
Okay, so let's move on to the last segment. It's called How's That with Snag and Sash. So this
Mm-hmm.
name was a little inspired by this show called Shaz and Vaz. So it's like that. So
Yep.
Aditya, are you ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's see. Like I wasn't prepared for this. Like they did not tell me like beforehand. So yeah, just letting it out there. This is like off the cuff. Yeah.
Don't worry, the questions are not like very tough. It should be a cakewalk for you. Okay, so the first one, who holds the record of the highest individual score in a test inning between England and India?
Okay. So I know both of them have scored triple centuries. I think Karun Nair is 309 or 319. Graham Gooch is 333. So I'd go Graham Gooch. Is that correct?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Yeah. Good.
Second question, who is the only bowler with over 100 wickets in India versus England in test?
Okay. So this is both like playing tests in India and England. So James Anderson, I think he's been there for a while, right? Like what, 2005 onwards? So that's like what, 15 years. India, England have played so many tests. Chandrasekhar, I know he's done really well in England, but I don't think he played that many tests. So I'd have to go with James Anderson.
Excellent.
That's correct. So just a fun fact of this. So Anderson has like 110 wickets and
Mhm.
Chandrasekhar is at 95.
Oh, it's really close. Okay.
The third question, how many wickets does Jimmy Anderson needs to pick up to surpass Jumbo?
Okay, this I think is a bit tough because I think Jumbo, I don't remember now. Was it 619, 619? And Anderson recently got 600. And wait, no, maybe Kumble is more than 619. Maybe that's 519. And these options are so close as well. It's not 40 or 10, right? 16 and 14. I'm making a wild guess because again, Anderson took some wickets in Sri Lanka. He played one test match. Oh man, 16, 14. Let me go with 14. I could be wrong. Like, I don't know. Oh, wow. Lucky guess.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question, who holds the best bowling figures in test in India amongst the players of the current squad?
So in India,
Maharashtra.
as in, it's like to clarify the question, like, is it like a test match when it is played in India? Is that
Yes,
correct?
correct. In India amongst the current existing squad.
Best bowling figures. I know Ashwin has taken like an 8-wicket haul or a 7-wicket haul. I know Broad has taken 8 wickets, but that is in England. Like I think he took it against Australia, like 8 for 19 or something, some crazy figure. I don't remember Broad taking like 8 wickets in India, like 7 or 8. Let me think through this. I would say Ashwin, 7 or 8. Yeah. Oh, okay. 6. My bad. Like I thought
That's
maybe Ashwin took 7 sometimes. Yeah. I thought Ashwin like took 7, but he did not. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so 4 and 4.
Okay, the last question. Which English wicketkeeper has the most dismissals in India-England test?
Oh wow, this is
Alan
tough.
Knott.
On Matt Pryor, right? Mm, sorry, one sec. Sorry, I lost my headphone. So yeah, this is actually tougher than like this is like the Jimmy Anderson one, right? Like I had to guess. I knew that it was close. This is also pretty close. Uh, I know Alan Knott played longer than Matt Pryor, like for more number of years. I'm just trying to walk you through my like thought process, what I'm thinking, because I think this is also a tougher question. I think Matt Pryor unfortunately did not play as many Test matches. He did not last long. I think he played like 6 years or 8 years, and Alan Knott played for longer. And in India did not play as many tests. So this is the other side, right? Like India did not play as many tests in England when Alan Knott was around. But in the recent past, India is playing 5 test matches versus England like every other year, right? This year we also go to England to play 5 test matches, so we have like 9 this year. So. Um, Prior Alan Note. See, like my perfect record is on the line. I got 4 out of 4. Now there's more pressure on this. If I'd got one wrong, I'd be like, I'll guess something. But now I'm like, I should get this.
Yes.
Alan Knott and Matt Pryor. Okay, let me go with Alan Knott. I think I'll be wrong.
Excellent.
Oh, wow. Okay, very good.
Well done.
5 on 5. Good ball,
Wow.
Aditya.
That's actually really close. I thought Alan Knott would be something like 6, like in my thought. I walked you both through my thought process, right? I thought Alan Knott would be 70 and Matt Pryor would be 45, 50. Like I was like thinking in my head, but I think what happened is India did not play that many test matches when Alan Knott played for like 15 years or something. So yeah. Yeah, sometimes you get lucky, right? Like 2 questions, I took like it was so close and the questions were really tough. Like kudos for you both to like putting that up. And Anderson question and this question, I was like, I was not 100% sure. I'd say like 70% sure of the answer. So the other ones I knew, but like really good questions.
Great, man. 5 in 5. Excellent, excellent. Hey, listen, this has been fantastic chat, Aditya. From your journey to a cricket fan, England India series review, 5 in 5 quiz, and also some super insights on IPL. So we're all now looking forward for the IPL auction and India England series. Thanks again for taking time during your weekend. We appreciate it. Santosh, great job on the questions. And folks who are watching, stay tuned. We have more episodes and channels and contents going on. Do subscribe and follow us on Twitter and use our hashtag. Please do tell a friend or a family member about our channel and make sure we get some feedback. Put in a comment. Feel free to send us feedback. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time. And Adi, speak to you soon. And hopefully we'll bring you back after probably England India series to do the postmortem.
Yeah, happy to. Like this has been really great. Both of you have been gracious hosts and like really good preparation and questions, right? Like how to structure this. Had a fun time talking to you both, and fingers crossed. And hopefully, my 3-1 prediction is wrong, and India wins 4-0. That's those are my parting words for the Test matches, and then the T20 and ODI series. I honestly couldn't care that much, right? Unless something happens. But I'm looking forward to the Test series. Fingers crossed, India 4-0.
Excellent, excellent. Time will tell, and super excited for it. Enjoy your rest of the weekend, Aditya and Santosh. Talk to you later. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.